Hello and welcome to a mindful moment. How are you today, Melissa?
I am good, Teresa. How are you doing?
I'm okay. It's kind of ironic. We decided to talk about sleep today and we're having very high winds here. The gusts were bad last night. I don't know, 50,
Mhm.
60 miles an hour, but I woke up at 12:40 p.m. or a.m. So I'm a little sleepy.
I know I didn't sleep well last night either. So, yes,
Oh,
pertinent topic.
yeah, yeah. Wasn't planned. I was like, okay, now I'll really be talking from the heart. Well, what prompted this for me is that for the last couple of weeks, so a lot of my coaching clients I see every other week. So over a 2 week period, I pretty much hit them all. And there seemed to be this sort of common theme of anxiety, stress, and then not exhaustion, which I found interesting. It was feeling worn down or feeling not saying it, but just their body language and their lack of talking. It was almost like extremely blasé or blah. It was so I started thinking, and I'm asking the normal questions like, well, are you scheduling any time off for yourself over the holidays, or are you delegating tasks? Because we get so overloaded, as we talked about on I think the last podcast. Um, and they're all like, yes, yes, yes. And so the last one I had a couple of days ago, I finally said, are you sleeping?
Hmm.
And the answer was not well at all, which got me thinking on a couple of levels. So one is, especially here in the United States, sure many other places too, but in particular here, a lot of people are very, very anxious about January. And what we need going into a period of change, and especially if it's stressful change, is strong emotion regulation, calmness, clarity, good health, and not sleeping wipes all of those out. And so it's the holidays where we're running ourselves, down anyway, and then to go into what everyone is extremely anxious about. Oh, maybe we could touch on the topic of sleep today. So, did a little research. It's actually worse globally, but in the United States, it's a little over a third of all adults don't get enough sleep.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. And then there's particular groups that are even higher. Like for some reason, Pacific Asians are up in the 40 percentile, like 42, 46% or something. In
Interesting.
general, at least it's about 32 to 36% of US citizens, adults don't get enough sleep.
That's a lot.
Globally, it's 46%, almost half.
Whoa.
Yeah. I think sleep is very underrated. And I'm going to say or confess that when I was young, I was one of those stupid people who said I can sleep when I die, not realizing that if I'm not sleeping now, I'm going to die earlier. So
I mean,
a lot of people say that still. I know they do. But it's like, no, that's not a good attitude.
I'm the opposite. I am like, I've always been the one that's like, oh no, I need my sleep and I will be that way until I die
Yeah.
because I enjoy sleep a lot.
Then you will live a long time. But it does speak to our health. So both of us are really pretty healthy, right? One of the things that happens during one of the cycles of sleep is our immune systems get repaired. So when we don't sleep well, we're weakening our immune system, so we're more susceptible to catching things. So, but I can't remember the last time you had a cold. I never get colds or flu or anything like that. So that could be because of sleep. So I just want to reinforce it's really good for you. And then one of the topics that comes up and kind of ties into the I'll sleep when I'm dead myth, which is that you need a certain number of hours.
Mhm.
And I think that deters people. They're like, I don't have time to sleep 8 hours. And it's really not about the hours. It's about the sleep cycle. So we have four types of sleep, four phases, every night or every day if you're a night worker. We have awake. I mean, that's actually, you're awake. You're not quite asleep, but you're really still awake. That's actually a phase of sleep that's preparing you to
Mm.
go into sleep. And then
Mhm.
you have light sleep. Those two combined are called non-REM. Then you have REM, which is rapid eye movement sleep. And then you have deep sleep. And each phase does different things in our bodies. So light sleep actually boosts our communication system, which is so funny to me because when I don't sleep well, and I hope I don't do it today, but when I don't sleep well, I lose my words.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't communicate well.
too.
I
100%.
can't, they don't come. And they also boost our ability to learn and remember. So
Mm.
if we're not getting that awake time, so I think in terms of like when I'm really desperate, I can't go to sleep. And if I take like an over the counter sleeping pill, I'm awake and I'm dead to the world. I'm not going through the full phases, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm kind of knocking myself out. And I don't do it very often, maybe once or twice a year when I'm like, again, desperate, like I have to get up early in the morning and I can't go to sleep. Deep sleep is really for repairing and strengthening the immune system, as I mentioned. And it also contributes to insightful thinking, creativity, and memory.
Hmm.
Picture you're busy, you've got a million things to do, you don't get the sleep. How are you retaining that information? How are you tapping into your thinking ability? Not well,
Mm-hmm.
which to me then adds stress, right?
Yeah.
And then REM sleep, rapid eye movement, that's when we have the most dreams. But it's a myth that we don't dream in the other phases. We do, just not
Oh,
as
really?
much. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So a lot of times when you're kind of waking up, if you think about it, sometimes you're waking up and you're questioning like, was I just dreaming or did that really happen?
Yeah. I wake up like, well, because I'll wake up in the morning and then I don't feel like I've gotten enough sleep because it's before my alarm.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back to sleep. And then I don't get to that deep sleep cycle yet because it's not enough time has passed. So I'm usually in my REM state. So I'm always waking up in the middle of a dream. And I actually have like a diary next to my bed so I can write down my dreams because they're wild. So
That sounds like REM. Yeah. Mine are more because I do wake up in that light sleep. Like I'm going all the way through and I'm in a light sleep, but it's usually things that could be real. They're not like the fantastical dreams I have in REM sleep. And then I will question, like, did Melissa tell me we changed the date? Like, it'll be something like that. Like, is that real or did I just dream that?
no, I
But
never have that. Mine are always crazy, weird. Like,
well, the interesting thing about REM sleep is that's where our system processes our emotions.
mm,
So all day long, you're collecting these little hurts or little joys or little what, and it's during REM sleep that the brain goes through and figures out what to keep, what to toss out,
mm,
what to keep in short-term memory, long-term memory. It also promotes brain development, and your brain continues to develop despite another myth to the contrary throughout your life. So all of the phases are really important, but the most important thing is that you hit all of the phases at
mhm,
least once, preferably more than once. And each one is 90 minutes long, about.
mm,
Some people, you can go up to 120 minutes long per phase. So that does mean to get through all the phases, the minimum sleep you would need is 6 hours.
yeah.
Many people probably don't hit it right at 90 minutes, so say 7 hours. I think that's where like the latest recommendations are 7 hours of sleep a night. Some people might need 9 hours or 10 hours because they're going the full 2 hours per phase. Or for maximum health benefits, you'd get through two whole phases of each, right? Two
Mhm.
cycles of each phase. It's not about the number of hours. And it's so funny to me because I have always been a person who operates so far best on about 6 hours of sleep a night and never knew about 90 minutes per cycle and all this stuff I'm talking about. So I realized like, oh, I must be getting through each phase and I'm done. What I base it on though, again, I didn't know all this, is simply if you wake up feeling good, you probably got enough sleep. And if you
Yeah.
wake up feeling tired, you're not getting enough sleep. It's like really basic, right?
Yeah. I know. And I think too, our sleep trackers have kind of doomed us. I use one once in a while. Like if I'm starting to feel pretty tired, then I'll be like, am I not getting enough sleep? So I'll wear my watch and see how I'm sleeping at night. But I don't like to wear it at night
I
because
don't.
I wake up the next morning. The first thing I do is, how good did I sleep? It's
Yeah.
like, do I feel good? That's all you really need, right? And
Yep.
then I start to stress out if I'm not getting enough sleep. If
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
cycles aren't good enough, I'm like, oh my God, am I going to get sick? Am I going to have some, brain issue or something going on? Because there's so many health issues that will happen if you're not getting enough sleep. And
Yeah.
it can seriously exacerbate problems you already have if you don't get enough sleep. So, my mind just starts to race like, what am I going to do? I
Yeah.
need more sleep. It's a little stressful.
Yeah. I stopped wearing mine for the same reason. At first I wanted to see, am I getting every cycle in? You know what I mean? Because I don't know. Sure enough, it runs like clockwork. But there were a few times where I would get up and feel good and then look at my watch and it would tell me I didn't do well. And I would be like,
Yes, I did.
you know what? I don't need to rely on technology for this. If I feel good, I got enough sleep.
Yeah.
But you're very correct about the sleep deficiency. So it alters activities in parts of our brains when we don't get enough sleep. And it results in difficulties in making decisions, solving problems, controlling emotions and behavior, and coping with change.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, again, how this sort of came to me about, oh, we're going into, whether it's Hanukkah or Christmas or Ramadan, it doesn't matter what your holiday is, but we're going into where there's a lot of extra activities, a lot of maybe seeing people you don't want to hang out with all the time. those family members that, irritate you. There's the racing around, there's the pressure of the shopping, and then there's the New Year celebrations, and then there's the new administration moving in and everybody freaking out. So this is not the time to lower your ability to manage change or your emotions or your ability to think. It's just not. This is the time I feel like we should all hibernate for the rest of December. Just sleep.
That's funny. I saw a meme the other day where it was saying, since the dawn of time, mammals have gone to hibernate in the winter, and humans decided, nope, we're going to keep up productivity like we have in the summertime throughout winter, and we should be just fine. No,
and throw in the holidays.
They're actually not meant to.
No, it's true. And, and I don't like that feeling of I'm going to be exhausted at the end of the year. I don't want to start the new year tired. I want to feel good. Sleep deficiency is also linked to depression, suicide, and risk-taking behavior. So again, good time to have high risk-taking behavior at New Year's Eve? Yeah, maybe not.
Maybe not. Minimize risk this holiday season.
Yeah, I know. And then we're so hard on ourselves during the holidays, right? We don't eat as well as normal and, don't get as much exercise. And unfortunately, the physical aspects of not getting enough sleep, sleep's involved in the healing and repairing of our hearts and blood vessels. So as we're eating all of the high cholesterol, high fat food, probably the most of the year, then we're counteracting that by not sleeping and allowing our system. It's like an internal car wash is how I'm starting to think of sleep. It's like when you go to sleep, the little scrubbers all get out and start working on something, whether it's our brains or our hearts or our bodies. Yeah. So what prevents people from sleeping?
Oh, so much. To be honest, tons of stuff, right?
But how much of it is self-inflicted?
Almost all of it.
Yeah. So big one, number one, I would say these days is screens.
Yeah, technology, 100%.
Yeah. People are taking their devices to bed, scrolling in bed. A couple of things with that. One is, and if you're not aware of this by now, please at least check this out on your device. The blue light on TVs or devices, it doesn't have to be a handheld device, it can be a television. That blue light sends a message to the pineal gland that it's time to be awake. And then therefore the pineal gland doesn't send the message to the brain to release the melatonin. So you're not going to get that, that feeling when you're tired and you start to drift off. You don't get that. Your brain's going, oh, stay awake, stay awake. So blue light, no good for sleep. Orange light, an orange light, it sends a signal to the brain that it is sunset. It's a very primitive part of the brain. And as the sun goes down, the sky gets oranger. So if you're going to do something, if you can adjust your light background to make it more toward orange, or if you have an alarm clock. But the point being, that's, I think, something everyone needs to consider. So, good sleep hygiene, if we want to call it that, is experts recommend 2 hours before you want to go to sleep. Stop looking at devices.
Yeah.
Pick up a book or listen to music, or, if you need to do something, but not look at a screen.
Yeah.
I think the second one, well, this is probably the first one tied with technology, but it's routine.
Yeah.
It's funny that you brought up, since the beginning of time, we're primitive on the inside. So our brains
that far, right? Yeah.
Our brains want routine, and we're wired for it. So pick a bedtime, and that's your bedtime. So you don't, oh, I'm going to work late tonight, or I'm going to play video games until midnight, or I'm going to, read a book even. Don't go past your bedtime. Go to bed at your bedtime and get up.
I usually don't. I'm pretty good at my schedule, and much to the chagrin of my husband, who doesn't have one. Yeah. I wake up at 6 a.m. every morning. Usually I wake up before my alarm, so I'm usually up at like 5:45. But 9 o'clock rolls around, and that's not my go to sleep time. That's my okay, it's time to get ready for bed. I'll go wash my face, brush my teeth, do my
Yeah.
stretching, stuff like that every day. And I don't veer from it. And that's probably why mostly I sleep well. I do have some things that keep me up. Like if I drink too much alcohol, definitely keeps me awake at night. And I know a lot of
Yep.
that has to do with the sugar. Without fail, if I have more than, a certain amount, I wake up at 3 a.m. feeling horrible. So
Yeah.
it's like, and it's not like hangover horrible. It's just like, oh my gosh, I need more sleep kind
Not
of
enough
feeling.
sleep.
If I eat too late, I
Yep.
usually wake up. And then stress, stress is a big factor too for me. If I have too
Hmm.
much going on in my brain, I can't fall asleep. And then I get
Yeah.
to that, okay, if I fall asleep by 11 o'clock and I wake up at 4, I'm going to get 5 hours of sleep. Is that enough? I mean, my brain just starts going, going,
Yeah.
going, and then you still can't sleep. So, yeah, a lot of things, but routine is so important for me, at least.
Well, you hit two of the others too, which is don't eat within 2, 3 hours of going to bed and don't drink alcohol before going to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And like I love wine. I think everybody knows that by now. But I have learned I don't drink wine late.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to have wine, it's like at 5 o'clock, right? So I have plenty
Yeah.
of time for it to wear off or whatever it's got to do so that it doesn't interfere with my sleep. And I notice the difference when I go out. So if I go out with friends,
Mm-hmm.
especially here in LA, it's like, oh, we start at 9. Like, oh my God, that's my time to unwind. Like, okay, we're just getting started for the evening. Oh no, my sleep is
Oh,
terrible.
yeah. Well, your body has to not only metabolize the alcohol, but the sugar part of it as well. And so
Yeah.
you don't metabolize food, right after you eat it. So
No, it takes
liquid is not going
hours.
to be any different. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I go out to eat. We eat at 8. You know what I mean? Like everything's late.
Yeah.
And I love going out with my friends. I'm not going to stop that, but I try to get back on my routine as quick as I can afterwards
Yeah,
because
same.
I can feel the difference.
I stayed out till 12:30 the other night, and let me tell you something. Oh my gosh, I felt awful the next day.
Yeah.
Awful. I mean, I woke up at 7:30, so I still got 7 hours of sleep, but I was so off of my normal
Yeah.
schedule, and I'm too old to be staying out till past midnight. That's not my thing anymore. Oh, I love sleep. I really do.
There's a couple of other weird things. One is studies show that if spend time outdoors during the day, you sleep better at night.
Hmm.
So you get your sun, it sends some kind of a signal to the brain, and so you sleep better. Another one is keeping your room cool, quiet, and dark.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go back to the screens, right? It's not dark. Those screens are bright, right? And then the coolness, a lot of people they think they love to be warm, that's what will put them to sleep, but you actually sleep much better. I don't mean be cold, but if the room is cool and use blankets or whatever you cover up with.
I've heard that before too, that having a colder room is much better than sleeping in a warm room.
Yeah. The only reason I know that works for me is sitting in meetings.
Oh,
So when I sit in a meeting and the room is cold,
so true.
I can barely stay awake.
Oh, I know. You're so right.
And then, of course, napping is another consideration. So now this is not true for kids, of course, and kids need more sleep than we do because they're developing a lot more than we are. But for adults, it tends to be that if you sleep more than 20 minutes for a nap, you're going to probably interfere with your sleep cycle.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can sleep, I'm not a good napper. I wish I was. But if you can sleep 20 minutes or less for a nap, and don't do it at 5 o'clock, but like at early afternoon, then that really may help boost your energy. Like you've still got more work to do or whatever, then there's nothing wrong with it. But if you sleep more than 20 minutes, then you're going to have a problem at night. And today it's already come up like, well, maybe I should take a nap this afternoon. And I can't take my naps end up being 2 hours because it takes me a long time to go to sleep, much longer in the daytime than at night. And once I'm in, it's like I've got to get through at least some of the cycles or something. I can't wake up. So I can't.
That is because I am. I wonder what cycle you're hitting when you're just taking a 20-minute nap, because I do only take 20-minute naps. I'm not. My body doesn't. It just wakes me up. Like I'll fall asleep for a nap thinking, oh, I'll get like an hour, and I never do. It's usually 20 minutes, almost on the dot.
Interesting.
So I don't know what cycle.
It's probably it's probably either the kind of awake or the light sleep phases, and so. Which means you're alert still to sounds and to, you know what I mean? Like things can easily wake you. But no, not me. Once I'm out, I'm out. So it doesn't work well. So now what I do, I'm always torn about talking about this because the bodies that oversee mindfulness would say, you're not supposed to use meditation to sleep,
Mm.
right? Because it's supposed to be waking up your brain. But honestly, there are some meditations that are really good for sleeping. One of them that is guaranteed to put me to sleep every time is the body scan.
Yeah.
And if you, like when we do it normally in a workshop or something, we're only doing it, we're not doing the real full body scan. We're spending like 2 seconds on each body part. You know what I mean? Because we
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
spend all that time. But an actual body scan probably takes 20 to 25 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever made it to my toes.
No.
Like I start at my head and I'm out before I don't know where I get to my body, maybe halfway through, but that will definitely relax you. I mean, and that's the point. It is relaxing, but it's supposed to relax you so that you can get, kind of in touch with what's going on in your mind. But at the end of the day, if I want to do a body scan for meditative purposes, I do it in the morning. But if I want to use it to sleep, which I will use it as a tool to sleep, I do it at night. I'm out.
Yeah. There's
I think
one that I've done before. It's the Silva method. So the Silva method, they had I can't find it anymore online, but it was a guided meditation. It's kind of like a body scan, basically, going through the whole body. But it also had a repetitive click on it. So it was kind of like with the brain waves. I think it was like the delta theta.
Binary or something, binaural.
And so it really does like get you into that like transcendental, like, and for me, same thing. I would make it to like my belly out every time, but it also wakes you back up. So it has like a faster clicking to wake you back up at the end of it. So you get that, like, it's really great. Actually, I wish I could find it, but.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. It's another one for me is is a calming voice. Mm-hmm. So I can listen to, Headspace or whatever, just that calming meditative sound when someone's talking. If I don't have that handy, or if I'm kind of half asleep and I can tell I'm waking up and just need to find something, any audiobook. I have discovered even a thriller.
Oh,
if
really?
I'm sleepy, as soon as because it's that tiny, don't put my headphones in or my earbuds in, but it's just that sort of slightly tinny voice, coming out of the phone, puts me to sleep. So I have to set a timer because I want to hear my novels. And I'm not like, I'm out in minutes. Okay. So it's kind of like maybe finding what relaxes you. Any kind of regular, maybe it's the rhythm. I was about to say, maybe that is it. But like you're saying with the beats, the binaural beats, or someone speaking in a rhythmic tone, or if you need help sleeping, then that's fine. If it's TV, you're using TV, and I'm not going to say I've never done this, but what I do is I have my TV settings set to a darker mode, and I have the light that comes on for the TV off. You know what I mean? That shows you if it's on or off. I have it permanently off, which sometimes is a pain because I click a button and I think it's turned on and maybe I didn't hit it right. But I don't want that light shining in my bedroom. Yeah. And I actually love the shows, but there's so many with that monotone narration.
Yeah.
I'm out.
This is why if I watch golf,
yeah.
I actually enjoy playing golf, but watching golf can be quite boring. But the voices are, well, he's coming up to the next tee. And it's so monotone and relaxing.
That period of time is not for you to do things, right? It's not for you to plan. I mean, you're to do nothing. It's your time to rest. So if you're having trouble relaxing, any kind of mindfulness technique or contemplative practice, prayer, of course, or if you are having trouble getting off the device, then, do you like to draw or doodle or, something where it's calming and rhythmic? Coloring book, I don't know, whatever works for you. But if you can just even cut back a little bit. So if you are a device user at night and, it's your go-to and you sleep with your phone, please don't sleep with your phone, but I know a lot of people do. Then just wean yourself off. So if if it's 2 hours a night or 3 hours a night, just start cutting back maybe in 15-minute increments and try to replace it with something more mindful or something more contemplative.
Yeah. And a lot of times when you are on your device, because, it's designed to keep you on it, right? So it's designed to keep you engaged. Yeah. And if you find that you are starting to get sleepy and something exciting comes on the screen, then you wake back up. So I think a good way to try to break that habit is to place time restrictions on your phone. And I know that may not be a popular view, but limit yourself. Like maybe only give yourself 1 hour of social media per day on your phone. And when that alarm comes up that, oh, you've met your limit, you do have the choice to ignore it. But 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to go, oh, you know what? I probably should stop. And you'll put it away. So I think that will help a lot, to be
Oh, I think
honest.
that's a great tip because it's almost like compulsive shopping or anything else we do compulsively. And
Yeah.
social media is definitely a compulsion. Um, Sometimes you just need a pause, something to interrupt it for a minute so you get that pause to think, to actually think, is this really good for me? It's like, no, it's really not.
Yeah.
And then you can make you're right. You have a choice. You could keep going, but why not try like cutting back? And again, set that timer back a little bit every day so that you can finally get to the point that you don't need to do it. Then you can just do it when you really want to and not at bedtime.
And then you also, you don't feel like it has control of you anymore. So
Yeah, definitely.
what do you have for recommendations of, I mean, I know I have some, but trouble falling asleep? Like if you've got too much on your mind, or let's say you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't get back to sleep, like what are some methods you use when that happens?
It's really it's changed so much over the years as I've gotten older. So I used to read, just pick up a book and read for a little while and go back to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of trouble. My eyes are so tired at the end of the day now and so dry. Reading doesn't, it feels like work, like I'm squinting to read. So I've noticed that I don't enjoy doing that anymore. So what I do is I give myself 15 minutes. I look at the clock and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to lay here for 15 minutes, see what happens. I might try a body scan, but a lot of times, like I'm groggy, I don't even think of it. I'm just like, okay, 15 minutes. And if I'm still awake in 15 minutes, so then I check every once in a while or I fall asleep. Most of the time I fall asleep. But if I don't, and I actually find that I'm waking up more laying there, then I get up because otherwise I'm just going to toss and turn for the rest of the night. So I get up. I don't take any kind of stimulant. Like I don't have coffee. For me, it usually happens at 1 a.m. It's almost always around 1 a.m. when it happens. So I will get up. I will maybe come out here, keep the lights, no bright lights. I'll either put on music or an audiobook, or sometimes I'll do a crossword puzzle, like just something that's kind of boring and quiet. Sometimes I'll just sit here. The thing is, if I just sit, a lot of times I will start thinking.
Yeah.
So I do try to like do some little thing. Sometimes I'll stretch because sometimes what's waking me up is I've been sleeping on a part that's not happy.
Yeah.
So I'll do a few stretches, drink water. Then I'll try to go back to bed, give it another 15 minutes, and if it doesn't work, I get up. But if it works, which again, normally it does, plus when I go back to bed that second time, I'm awake enough to remember to do a body scan. So then I can get back to
That's
sleep.
helpful, right?
Yeah. What do you do?
I know for me, when I do wake up in the middle of the night, I also do look at the clock sometimes, but sometimes I don't because sometimes it stresses me out where I'm like, it's only 1 o'clock. Oh, I need to go back to bed. I will do 4-7-8 breathing. That does help me a lot. And studies have shown it's a great way to fall back asleep. So if you don't know what that is, we'll put some links for you.
Yeah, I've done that too.
Yeah. And then falling asleep, sometimes if I've got too much going on, it's just because I haven't gotten it all out of my brain. So I do keep a journal by my bed.
Yep.
And that is really helpful. Even if it's, I mean, I'm not writing like Dear Diary. It's not like that. I'll just do bullet points of those things that are in my head where I'm like, okay, just get it out. I'll pay attention to it tomorrow. As long as it's not swirling around in here, then I can get rest. But that's a big one for me.
I think journaling is great. I used to do that all the time.
But then the other thing that I would say is like, don't stress about it. Your body will right itself. Do you know what I mean? So it may take a while. Maybe you have insomnia for a while. Just don't stress too much about it. Try to get as much sleep as you can. And if you're not meeting it and you're not feeling good, then try to just make some adjustments. But I wouldn't, put everything on just in amount of sleep. You know what I mean? Because you really will just stress yourself out.
Back to the mind problem. I have to say, I haven't traveled for a long time. But that is one thing. If I had to be at the airport the next day, it's almost like a phobia. I'm not going to sleep. I'm going to miss my plane. And then I would end up not sleeping on. You know what I mean? So I think it's probably really common if you have a big meeting in the morning or a deadline or something like that, then it would be the journaling thing might really help. Like, what are you worried about? Just write it down. Because once you're right, if you don't get it out of the brain and onto paper, your brain thinks you're going to forget and keeps swirling. And so that is a really good
we have Murphy's Law. If I go say to myself, I need a good amount of sleep tonight because I have a big day tomorrow. Guess what?
Yeah.
I don't sleep.
Or just get older and then you don't care anymore. It's like, okay, whatever.
Speaking of aging, that's another thing that, depending on your age, your sleep is going to be very different, right? And you said this about kids needing more sleep. And part of an issue too for older generations is that your body gets tired sooner. So maybe in the middle of the day, you're feeling sleepy and you're tired, and maybe you fall asleep and you take a nap. That in turn is going to make your nighttime sleep not as much. And it's just a natural thing that happens. I think that the older we get less sleep. And so it's still just as important because there's signs of dementia, Alzheimer's, a lot of these mental conditions can stem from a lack of sleep. So super important to still try to get that sleep, even if you are, your sleep is changing.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and it makes no. I hate to say that I think the medical profession might be incorrect about this, but I think we have the wrong idea about older people don't need as much sleep. That's what they'll say. It's normal for older people not to get as much sleep.
They need sleep.
Okay, why wouldn't you need all the immune system help you can get as you 100%. Age? Because things start kind of breaking down. So it's like you need that support. I think it's very simple. You're less active, right? So you're not exerting as much energy during the day. I don't mean everybody, but I mean, that's a common problem. You're more sedentary, and so you're not as sleepy. Second thing is you start to get aches and pains in places, and it wakes you up.
Yeah.
Hello. So whether you're young or old, but I mean, the older you get, the greater odds you're going to have some aches and pains. So to me, and I've been actually trying to do this. I mentioned earlier, I've always been a person who can get, feel good after 6 hours sleep. I've been trying to see, because I never did this before in my life. I never had actually the opportunity to do this. What happens if I go back to sleep in the morning? Because I thought, well, I'm awake. I'm not going to go back to sleep. Well, I've been able to go back to sleep. So my 6 hours is becoming more like 8 hours, not all the time, but I would say half of the time now. Because I wake up between 3 and 4, since before you were born. 3 and 4 in the morning, I wake up every day. So I thought, okay. And every day I get up, usually, by 4 o'clock. Well, okay, what happened? I have time to go back to sleep. I don't have to be anywhere at 5 a.m. So it's like, anymore. See, this is the difference. I don't have to commute most days. Yep. I have this luxury of, I could sleep until when normal people sleep, like 5 or 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
I'll just lay there with the intention of, if I can go back to sleep, I'll catch another, hour or two of sleep. And sure enough, it works about half the time. So I don't think it's age that causes us to, it's not because we don't need the sleep as we age. It's because there are more things that might be disruptive to our sleep. And so
I agree with you. I think you need likely more sleep as you age, because your body is starting to, not to sound morbid, but it's starting to break down in certain ways. And you need as much immunity and strength as you can get. So, and
mental clarity, right? So
100%.
You need that scrubbing that happens at night. So, thankfully, like the women in my family that have lived into their 80s and 90s, they were sharp as tacks, really, most of them until toward the end. But they had routines, they were busy, they were active. They're like, when I think back, they ate pretty healthy.
Well, your mom still works, so hello.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
And she is in her 80s.
Yeah.
But I wasn't even thinking about my mom, for goodness sake. You're right. I don't think of her as being in her 80s because she still works. But my grandparents, my aunts, when I look back at all the women in the family but if you think about lifestyle, even when I said they ate healthy, and then I had this flash of one of my grandparents, because they were at the perfect age when the big 60s revolution of convenience foods and stuff came out.
Yeah.
But they still ate vegetables you know what I mean? They still ate healthier than most of us do today. And I think they grew out of the whole Swanson frozen dinner thing. Yeah, that was one of the big deals. Um, but yeah, so, and they slept. They were on a routine. Bedtime, I always thought when I was a kid, they went to bed so early, but it was probably at 9 o'clock. I mean, now that I look back at it, and got up early, did their chores, did their whatever. So there's something to say for that. And I'm glad you brought up the age thing because I do think, I know for a fact that I know people that have said to their doctors, I'm not sleeping well, and it's just normal. It's because of your age. And I don't think it's normal. I think we need to make an effort. And the same thing for young people. I don't think you can convince a teenager. Well, they're pretty good at sleeping, but I mean, I don't think you can convince them that they have to sleep. They just sleep naturally. But
Certainly
young
not
kids,
young adults. Certainly not young adults. Young
yeah,
adults are like, I can function on 3 hours of sleep,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah,
And I did it. I did that
I did too.
silly stuff too.
Yeah.
But uh, young children, teenagers, they desperately need extra sleep because their brains are still forming, their bodies are still forming, and all of that happens during sleep, not when they're out running around. Young adults, I don't know what happens with young adults anymore. They just have to hang on and try to get through, I think.
It's just this weird period of life where
Gotta live all of my life right now.
totally.
But anyway, keep it in mind. Just be mindful about your sleep. I do think it's important. Well, we are going to go on hiatus. Yay. So we can get some sleep and rest. But I know I sincerely, and I'm sure Melissa does too, wish whatever your holiday is in the rest of this month and into January, that you celebrate it in a lovely fashion, have great fun, be mindful, and to maybe think about setting an intention. We don't do New Year's resolutions, but just set an intention that if you're trying to improve your health, instead of fad diets and supplements and everything else, maybe start with sleep in the new year and see if it makes a difference for you.
Yeah, I would say too, with the setting intentions, it's very easy for a lot of us to have this huge list of, I want to do this, and this. And then when we really think about it, how many of those things do we accomplish? And then we're let down because we didn't do it. Start small. Like Teresa said, if it's your health, start with sleep. See if it works. And maybe I think one of the things too, like sharing your intentions with other people puts so much pressure on it. Like, I guess it's my non-competitive nature, but I don't feel like I need to share my intentions with other people. It's for me. And if I don't meet those intentions or those don't happen, I don't feel terrible because other people aren't looking at me like, oh, you didn't do it. I don't need any of that. This is my life. It's me, my health. So I just think it's important just to be nice and easy on yourself. And if you want to make changes, make small changes, and hopefully everything turns out well.
Okay, I can't believe we're going to be off for a while. We hope that you'll continue to be mindful, continue to access our vast catalog of episodes while we're out, and really wish you a very merry, happy new year.
Yes, me as well. Ditto everything. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. This podcast is part of the Airwave Media Podcast Network. Visit airwavemedia.com to listen and subscribe to other great shows. Visit our website, amindfulmoment.com, to access podcasts, scripts, and reading recommendations. A Mindful Moment is hosted by Teresa McKee and Melissa Sims. This podcast is produced by Work to Live Productions. Thank you for tuning in.